Do we want the glasses in the picture?
Yeah, I like them.
Well,
They're part of
they-
the-
They're
okay.
definitely, yeah.
That's part of you,
part of
Ken.
you. You can-
Are you nervous? You are?
Well, Cynthia's going to ask the questions.
Yep.
You afraid I'll answer them with a lie? Oh, you think I'll talk too much?
Just be, just be,
I-
just be,
I try not to talk too much. I'll try to let you talk too.
just be.
Okay.
Tina, no opinions. Where did you meet?
We met at the Sackett at Oregon State.
The where? What's the sack?
Sackett.
It's a dorm.
Oh, it's a dorm.
It was a quad. 4 wings in the quad. And
3 were girls.
And
One
one-
was boys.
tell them what you washed.
I wash pots and pans.
And I washed dishes. And tell them how much you got.
90 cents an hour.
And I got 75 cents an hour. Made me mad. So I carried a petition to get it changed. And they couldn't change it right away. They said they'd go to the board and talk about it. Then the next year, I didn't work in the kitchen anymore because I wanted to work somewhere else. So I worked in the library, and it was 90 cents an hour. It had changed. But he can tell you why he was attracted to me.
Why?
Her skirt went like this.
My butt. He thought he was the only one I was dating, too, till he saw my checkout. We had to sign in and sign out.
Are the dorms?
Uh-huh. Then he was surprised.
I realized that she was dating other people besides me.
Yeah, you weren't the only one. Huh?
We met at Oregon State.
Why were
I
you in-
picked it because of basketball.
Yeah, they had a good basketball team.
Yeah, they came in second in the U.S.
I picked it because it was the only school in the western United States that had PE as a major and outdoor ed as a minor. And I got on the train, California, and came to Corvallis.
Why did I pick fisheries? My roommate was in fisheries.
Ken was in, what were you in?
Sociology.
He liked his roommate's classes better. And why not game?
Why not game? Because I like to hunt.
And what would happen if you were in game?
If I were in game, I'd have to be working when I wanted to be hunting. I remember a date we had. We went to the coast.
And we thought we had a secluded beach. We put out our sleeping bags that night, and in the morning, what'd we find?
Lots of people.
Yeah, they were clamming on our beach.
With a ring
How did you give Mom the ring?
on her finger
Did-
in a car.
In the car.
In a car. What car did you have?
Had a Volkswagen Bug.
Orange.
Orange?
The ring had his birthstone in it instead of a diamond.
Dad, what did Mildred and Laurel think?
They were happy.
They-
My parents, Ken wrote him a letter,
oh,
and yeah, and he asked for permission from my dad. I thought that was pretty nice.
that's pretty.
Did you?
Yeah, you didn't know that, did you?
No. Well, she belonged to a sorority, and I went to pick her up at the sorority, and she'd cut her hair.
Were you pleased?
No.
No, he wasn't.
And now it's still short.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, I know why. She just shakes her head and it goes into where she wants it.
Yeah.
I don't even have to comment, do I?
Oh.
We only dated 2 years before we got married, and we got married at the end of my sophomore year. So at the end of the freshman year, I left and went to work, and he left and went to work, and we wrote. I went to a Girl Scout camp as a counselor. And he was with the Department of Fish and Wildlife then.
I was working out of Klamath Falls, and I went to Bend, got the car, and drove down to where Carolyn was at in California by Lake Tahoe, and she was out with the handyman.
I didn't know he was coming. So I went
Well,
out.
I got treated really well.
Yeah, all the other camp counselors, all the girls there. So when I came in later on that night, then we only had that evening. Then he turned around and,
We went to Reno,
oh, that's right.
and then I went home. I took you back up to the lake.
Drove all the way back again to
Bend.
Bend all night. Went all that way and I wasn't there.
Joe Colvin and I went to the parade of the Rose Bowl. And I can't remember that must have been about 1960.
I don't know, but you stopped at the house on the way back up to Corvallis. That's when he met Louise, my sister.
And she sewed the pants,
She was making a pair of pants.
2 legs together.
She sewed the pants legs together.
Good question. I don't know why I chose her. Her skirts were too tight.
I didn't ask to borrow your things. I didn't take your things. When times are right, everything gets in order. Yeah.
You need to answer the questions about why the wedding, because I don't know.
I don't know. My mom planned it all.
I don't know.
She told us, we said in September before school started, and my mom picked the date even.
Well, I remember
It got changed.
it got changed. We were originally going to get married on the 9th, and we got married on the 8th
Yeah, it got changed.
of September.
And we all just went to there to, my mom made the wedding dress. She made all the bridesmaids' dresses. She made everything, and she had everything planned. All we had to do was show up.
Well, Fresno is a big city.
Yeah, it's a big city. Ken's from Elgin. He went to Corvallis and missed the first 2 classes the first day of school because he didn't know the 2 meant second floor.
Well, I was registering on the first day, first class, and I missed the second class because I didn't know that 2 meant the second floor.
We planned it so we could get married before school started again at my junior year, and started driving back to Corvallis in that little orange bug. And they had taken sheets and torn them up and tied cans to the back of the car. And we got how far?
Caught on fire.
I know, how far did we get before we caught on fire?
We were still in
Fresno. And it caught on fire in the back.
We threw sand on the back of it.
Yeah, we got out, threw sand all over the back of it, put the fire out, and then went on. And we were going to the coast first, and the first night at the coast, we went to bed, and in the middle of the night, Ken went, picked me up, threw me over the top of him, and landed on the floor. And I said, "What the hell are you doing?" And what'd you say?
Saved you from a train.
Just saved you from a train. I knew he was asleep. So I crept around, got back in on my side, and thought, what in the hell did I get myself into? And then the next morning, we went from the coast across Donner, and we had our sleeping bags, and we stayed up there near the camp that I'd worked at in our sleeping bags, and we had our first fight. And what was it over?
Forest Service.
Yes. He said I was born and bred on Smokey the Bear. And the kids grew up thinking the Forest Service was the FFS, not the USFS. And then we went on to Reno, and by this time the car wasn't working right because it had all that sand in the back. So we tried to get into a garage. Must have been a Sunday. Or was, yeah, because we couldn't get any work done on it, so we bought a case of oil.
Headed north.
Yeah, and headed north. Started out across the desert. How far did we get?
Not far.
No, we didn't get far. What happened?
We
We died, didn't we?
we died.
We sat there, middle of nowhere. Nobody came by. Pretty soon, Carmen Gia came by. Went zzz, then it turned around and came back. And this guy in the Carmen Gia said he'd pull us to, Marysville?
Marysville.
Marysville. So he got out his lariat rope. He was a cowboy that worked out there. Tied us to the car, his Carmen Gia, and started off. He said the only problem was he'd have to stop partway and pick up his girlfriend. So we were going along behind the Carmen Gia, and pretty soon he stopped, and we all stopped, and he unhitched us and went up a driveway and came back with,
A girl.
yeah, that.
And she was 9 months pregnant.
And he tied us up again, and we started off, and we broke the lariat rope because we didn't take off our brake. So now we're short. He tied us up again and started off. And if you go through Nevada, it goes like this. And we went up like this, and what did we see?
Cows.
Cows all over the road. I had my head on the floor. I knew we were dead. And the cowboy took out a pistol,
Shot in the air.
shot it in the air. Cows separated,
And we went right through them.
went right through them. We got to Marysville. They had a part. They fixed it. And we were going to take the cowboy and his girlfriend out to dinner.
And he said, all I want is I was on a fire crew.
Burned up my shirt?
Burned up a shirt, and all he wanted was a shirt.
And then he said he had to leave anyway. His girlfriend
Wasn't invited into that
wasn't
town.
welcome in that town.
Welcome in that town.
So we got his address and he left. And I sent him a shirt when we got to Corvallis. We were married. We lived together 9 months in the first 2 years. Oh, just they drafted everybody.
Everybody that wasn't married
Yeah.
and had kids.
And had kids. And his new wife wouldn't have kids to keep him out of service. Yeah.
So I went in the Army.
Joined the National Guard.
I joined the National Guard in Corvallis
Yeah.
and went in the Army and was a cook. And they taught me how to be a cook.
And I told him I wasn't going to follow him from Army camp to Army camp. So I stayed and finished school, and he went to Fort Ord. When he came back after the 6 months, I still had 1 more year to go. The Department of Fish and Wildlife called and offered him a job in Bend. So he went to Bend, and I stayed in Corvallis and finished and did my student teaching, and then joined him in Bend.
She got offers for 3 different schools for 3 different jobs.
And so I taught 1 year in Redmond. And I got tired of the snow and the cold. I wanted to live where it was warmer since I'd come from California. So Ken said, he applied for a job over here, and he said, Carolyn, it's nice and warm over here. So we came over in July. It was nice and warm in July.
June.
June?
June and July.
Yeah, it was then. It's not been nice and warm since. And I quit that job in Redmond and came over here, and I stopped in Wallowa to look for a job, and the guy wasn't there, so I stopped in Enterprise and looked for a job. Walked in, and the principal said, well, we've been waiting for you to get here. The State Department said you were coming. So I got a job in Enterprise. And we lived at the lake, foot of the lake, because I thought we should live at the foot of the lake.
Worked in Bend.
In Bend.
And I worked 2 weeks on the Deschutes River and 2 weeks in the Bend District. I did spawning ground counts on the Montoles River for Chinook. I floated the Deschutes 2 weeks out of every month. Worked out of the high lakes. There used to be salmon in the Montoles River. And I did spawning ground counts. And I went over to Selway and I realized I was making as much money in one day as I did in a month on the Metolius.
We did a lot of camping, and one time we went down, I don't know whether we were on the Mnaha camping or on the Winaha. There were ticks. That's all I know. Oh, that was, yeah, there were ticks. And I had never been around ticks. And so when I got home, I washed my hair and took a bath, and I found a tick, and Ken went to bed, and I was going to go to bed, and as I got in the bed, he said, "Carolyn, did you find the second tick? They're always in pairs." Oh, gosh. I went back. I got back in the bathtub. I looked and I looked and I looked and I looked. Finally, I gave up. I said, "Ken, I can't find the second tick." He just started laughing and laughing.
Like I am now. We were in the High Lakes and I had a radio. And they said they were calling up all Army reservists. And I went down to Wallowa Lake, got in the car, went to La Grande and got down on my hands and knees and said, "Let me in."
Let me out of in the National Guard again.
I wanted to get into the
National Guard and
National
out of
Guard.
the Army Reserve.
Sure.
He left us. He just got on a horse and took off. And he had switched from the National Guard to the Army Reserves. He wanted to switch back. Yeah, Vic and Vicky and Ken and I were up there. They were doing
High Lake surveys.
they were setting nets and catching fish and seeing what types and what size were in all the high lakes. And Vicky and I would fish. We were in a little rubber raft and we were in the boat, and we'd paddle as fast as we could and grab a grasshopper and put it on the hook. We tried to catch the fish. We tried to get the grasshopper before the fish got it so we could hook the fish with it. Yeah, we weren't going. No, I was not going to have any kids. And he had to go in the Army and all kinds of stuff because I had decided we weren't going to have any children. And then I changed my mind. He said we have one.
Well, we were going to have
None.
none, and then we went to 6, and I said 2, and that's all we're going to have.
So I was 25 when Cynthia was born, and I quit working because I wanted to stay home. And Cynthia was born on May 25th. I missed the work day at school, but I did the whole school year. And then in the fall, where we were living at that duplex, I could hear the bells ring and the kids playing. And I bawled because that was the first time since age 6 I hadn't been in the school. And I thought, now what have I done? But I soon got over it. Then we outgrew the duplex, decided to move.
Moved up here.
Yeah, moved on the slope.
And
Ken
then-
didn't like that house.
And I didn't like that house, and we moved to Enterprise.
Yeah. And Tina was born when we were in that house over here on the slope. And then we were going to move into town. Ken didn't like the house. He thought it was going to catch fire.
So it had terrible electricity.
Wiring. It's an old house. It's still there, though. And then we moved into town, and we bought a piece of land in town, and I had a plan drawn up, and the bid on it was $21,000. What'd you say?
We're not going to pay over 20,000.
So we started looking for homes, and we were in the one that we finally bought, but we were in it looking at it, and Ken asked her what she wanted for it, and she said, what'd she say?
I remember.
20,000. What'd you say?
I said we're not paying 20,000.
So she said, she was a mail order bride, and her husband had died, and she was going back to Boston. And she said, if I carry the contract, it'll be 19,000. He said, sold. That's how we moved in.